The storm had painted the mountains white. Snowflakes whirled like tiny shards of glass, slicing through the frozen air. Emma tightened her scarf and pressed forward on the lonely trail. She had taken this path for years, but that night felt different. The silence was too sharp, the cold too heavy. Her boots sank deep into the powder as she pulled her sled of firewood behind her, and then she saw it. At first, it was just a shadow moving across the ridge. Her heart skipped. A wolf. It was huge, its fur silver and gray, glowing faintly under the pale moonlight. Wolves were rare in these mountains. She stopped walking, holding her breath, her every instinct screaming to stay still. But something was wrong. The wolf wasn't just running, it was dragging something. Emma squinted through the storm. A bag. A large, dark bag. It trailed behind the animal, scraping against the ice, leaving a jagged path in the snow. Her pulse quickened. What could a wolf possibly want with a bag? For a moment, fear told her to turn back, but curiosity and something deeper held her in place. She stepped forward, eyes locked on the beast. The wolf paused, lifted its head, and met her gaze. Its eyes were not wild with hunger. They were piercing, intelligent, and almost pleading. Emma's chest tightened. "What are you trying to show me?" she whispered, though the storm swallowed her words. The wolf gave a low whine and turned. It dragged the bag further into the woods. Emma's breath caught. This was madness. She was following a wolf of all things, but her legs moved anyway, step after step, into the dark trees. The deeper she went, the louder her thoughts became. What if it's carrying something dangerous? What if it's bait? What if there's something inside that bag that I'm meant to see? Her heart pounded as the wolf slowed and dropped the bag at the edge of a clearing. Snow drifted over it like a shroud. Emma froze. This was it. She approached slowly, fear and anticipation knotting inside her. She knelt, brushed the snow away, and touched the zipper. The wolf stood across from her, silent, watching, waiting. Emma took a deep breath and pulled the bag open. The zipper creaked as she pulled it down. Her breath hitched. Inside, wrapped in layers of old blankets, was movement. Something small, something alive. Emma's hands trembled as she peeled back the fabric, and then her eyes widened. A baby, a tiny infant, red-cheeked from the cold, blinking slowly as if between worlds of sleep and silence. Its lips trembled, a weak cry pushing from its chest. Emma's heart shattered. Tears blurred her vision. "Dear God," she whispered, scooping the child carefully into her arms. The wolf stepped closer, ears twitching. Its breath puffed white in the freezing air. It lowered its head as though to say, "This is why I brought you here." Emma's throat tightened. She clutched the baby close to her chest, feeling the fragile heartbeat flutter against her coat. How did you?" Her voice broke. Because right now the viewer is wondering, why would a wolf carry a baby in a bag? Who abandoned it? How is this possible? Emma looked around, but there was no one, no footprints, no sign of another soul. Just her, the wolf, and the storm. She thought of turning back immediately, of running to her cabin, lighting the fire, wrapping the baby in warmth. But her legs wouldn't move yet. Her mind was frozen. She stared at the wolf. Why me? The animal only tilted its head, eyes glinting. Then it stepped back, fading into the trees. It did not attack. It did not growl. It simply left. Emma wanted to call out, to demand answers from a creature that could never give them. But the storm howled louder, and the baby whimpered in her arms. There was no more time to waste. She hurried down the path, heart pounding with every step. Snow stung her cheeks and the baby's cries grew weaker. Each sound pierced her chest like a blade. She burst into her cabin and rushed to the fireplace. Her hands moved fast, wood stacked, match struck, flames rising. She wrapped the baby in her thickest blanket and pressed the little one against her body. Hours passed. The storm raged outside, but inside the cabin, Emma fought her own storm. Questions attacked her from all sides. Who left this baby? Why was it in the snow? Why would a wolf of all creatures protect it? She wiped her tears, rocking the baby gently. "It's okay," she whispered. "You're safe now. I'll keep you safe." But deep down she knew safety was fragile. This child's presence had cracked open something much bigger. This was no accident. Someone put that baby there, and someone might come back for it. Emma stared into the fire, clutching the child close, as outside the wolf howled in the distance. Morning came pale and grey. The storm had passed, leaving the world buried in silence. Emma hadn't slept. Her eyes were heavy, but she couldn't take them off the baby. The little one was stronger now, tiny fists twitching, lips sucking softly on the edge of the blanket. She smiled faintly. It had been years since she had held a baby. Memories of her past, memories she kept buried, pressed against her heart. Her daughter, the one she had lost long ago. Emma's eyes watered. She had sworn never to feel that pain again. But here she was, holding a child she didn't know, yet somehow already loved. The knock came suddenly, a heavy, desperate pounding on her door. Emma froze. Every muscle in her body went tight. Her eyes shot to the baby, then to the door. "Who's there?" she called, her voice sharp. No answer, just another knock, louder, faster. The baby stirred, letting out a soft cry. Emma shushed it gently, her hands trembling. She reached for her rifle. It had leaned against the wall since her husband. Past unused but always ready. She aimed at the door. "I said, who's there?" Finally a voice, low, ragged, male. "Please help me." Emma's heart hammered. She didn't move, didn't breathe. The voice cracked again. I need my baby." Her blood ran cold. The baby, her grip on... The rifle tightened, but her hands shook violently. "What did you say?" she demanded. The man's words slurred, as though he was half broken. My little girl. Please. She's all I have left." Emma's pulse raced. Was this the one who left the child? Was he lying, dangerous, or was he truly desperate? Would you trust a man who shows up in the middle of nowhere, claiming the baby you just rescued from a wolf is his? Emma glanced at the child in her arms, then at the door that separated her from the stranger. The wolf's howl rose again in the distance, long, deep, and haunting, as if warning her. Emma's finger hovered over the trigger. The rifle was steady, but her heart wasn't. The man outside banged again, weaker this time. His voice cracked like dry wood. "Please, let me in. The cold, I can't. I just need her. My baby girl." Emma's breath fogged in the cabin. Hair. The fire popped and hissed, the baby shifting against her chest with a soft whimper. She rocked the child gently, but her eyes never left the door. Every thought clashed in her mind. What if he's lying? What if he's the one who abandoned her? What if he's dangerous? But another thought struck her like a knife. What if he's telling the truth? What if this is his child and I'm standing between them? Her throat tightened. She had lost her own child once. She knew the unbearable ache of emptiness. Could she really deny a parent that chance? But then she remembered the wolf, the way it dragged the bag, the way it looked at her, as if it had chosen her, trusted her. That wasn't a random act. If the wolf saved the baby, maybe it was protecting her from something or someone. Emma lowered her rifle slightly, but did not unlock the door. "Who are you?" she demanded. Silence, her stomach knotted. She raised the gun again. "Answer me, who are you?" Finally the voice came, soft and broken. "My name is Caleb." A cough rattled through the door. "I lost everything in the storm. My wife, she didn't make it. All I have left is my little girl." Emma's chest ached. The baby squirmed, as if responding to the man's words, but something didn't fit. If this was true, why was the baby in a bag left in the snow? Why wasn't he holding her? Emma pressed her lips together. "How did your baby end up out there? Alone?" Caleb's voice faltered. I had to. Couldn't carry her in the supplies. I thought I'd come back for her." Emma's stomach dropped. The cabin walls seemed to close in. He left her in the snow for wolves to find. Her instinct screamed. She hugged the baby tighter, shaking her head though he couldn't see it. No, no father would do that. The door rattled as Caleb pressed against it. His tone changed, no longer weak but sharp. "Open the door, woman, she's mine." Emma's heart froze. The rifle was back against her shoulder in seconds. "Step away," she warned. Silence again. Then the crunch of footsteps retreating. Into the snow. Her chest heaved. She stood there for minutes, rifle steady, ears straining for any sound. But the woods had swallowed him whole. Finally, she turned back to the baby. Her hands shook as she brushed the child's cheek. "You're safe," she whispered, though she wasn't sure if she believed it. If he left once, he could come back. And next time he might not knock. Outside, the wolf howled again, closer than before, almost protective. Emma stared at the flames, knowing the storm wasn't over. It had only just begun. Night fell heavy and sharp. The cabin groaned against the wind. Emma sat by the fire, the baby cradled in her arms, the rifle propped at her side. Sleep tugged at her, but fear kept her awake. Every creak of wood, every whistle of wind made her flinch. Then a sound broke through, not the storm, not the man. A low scratching. Emma's head snapped toward the window. Outside, faint against the snow, was a shape. Her pulse raced. She grabbed the rifle and crept forward, and then she saw it. The wolf. Its silver fur was dusted white with frost. Its eyes glowed amber in the night. It stood close, too close, staring in. Emma's chest tightened. She should have been afraid. But she wasn't. Not the way she feared Caleb. The wolf lowered its head, pressed something against the glass, then stepped back. Emma blinked. What was it doing? Heart pounding, she unlatched the door slightly, keeping the rifle in one hand. The wolf didn't move. Snow swirled around its massive body as it dropped something at her feet. A cloth, torn, stained with dark patches of red. Her stomach dropped. She bent slowly, picking it up with trembling fingers. The fabric was thin, rough and unmistakable. It was part of the bag. Emma's breath came fast. This wasn't just about the baby. The bag wasn't only a cradle, it was a clue, a warning. She looked back at the wolf, her voice shaking. "What are you trying to tell me?" The animal's ears flicked. It gave a short, low growl, not of anger but of urgency. Then it turned, padded toward the trees and stopped. Looking back, waiting. Would you follow a wolf into the darkness, knowing it might lead you to the truth or to danger? Emma glanced at the baby, sleeping soundly by the fire. Her heart twisted. She couldn't leave her, but she also couldn't ignore this. She wrapped the child tighter in blankets, placing her carefully in a basket by the hearth. Her voice was soft but firm. "I'll be back, I promise." Rifle in hand, she pulled on her coat and stepped into the night. The wolf led her through the trees, the snow crunching beneath their steps. The forest was silent, except for the whisper of wind. Every branch creaked like bones. After what felt like hours, the wolf stopped at a clearing. Emma's eyes widened. There, half buried in snow, was a campsite. Torn tents, scattered belongings, footprints frozen in ice, and blood. Emma's stomach churned. She moved slowly, scanning the wreckage. There was no sign of life, no bodies, just chaos left behind. Her breath caught when she saw it, a photograph pressed against the snow. She lifted it with numb fingers. It was a woman smiling, holding a baby, the same baby now asleep in her cabin. Emma's heart twisted violently. This was the mother. Her knees gave out, and she collapsed into the snow, clutching the photo. Tears blurred her vision. "What happened to you?" she whispered. The wolf stood nearby, silent, watching. Emma's body trembled as the truth clawed at her. This wasn't just an abandoned child. This was a tragedy, a family broken apart. But the biggest question remained, the one that kept the viewers locked in. If the mother was gone, what did that make Caleb? A grieving father, or the reason she was dead? Emma's blood ran cold. She gripped the rifle tighter. The storm wasn't outside anymore. It was inside her. Emma stumbled back into the cabin near dawn, her body numb, her mind spinning. She tucked the photograph into her coat and rushed to the fire. The baby stirred as she lifted her, relief flooding her veins. "You're safe," she whispered. "You're safe." But even as she said it, she knew safety was slipping further away. She placed the photo on the table and stared at it. The mother's face smiled up at her, hauntingly alive in the frozen picture. Emma's chest ached with memories of her own child, her own loss. The baby yawned softly, and Emma pressed a kiss to her forehead. "I won't let anyone hurt you, not him, not anyone." But the knock came again, soft this time, gentle, almost polite. Emma froze, her hands tightened around the baby. She stared at the door, heart pounding in her ears. The voice followed, calm, smooth. "Emma, I know you're in there." Her blood turned to ice. He knew her name. She clutched the rifle, her hands trembling. "How do you know me?" Caleb's voice was steady now, almost too steady. "Because I've been watching. Since the moment you found her." Emma's stomach dropped. "Watching? How long? From where?" She backed toward the fire, clutching the baby to her chest. "What do you want?" Silence stretched. Then his voice darkened. "You already know she's mine, and I'm not leaving without her." Emma's breath came in sharp bursts. She lifted the rifle, aimed at the door. "You left her in the snow. You don't deserve her." A low chuckle echoed through the wood. Cold, empty. "You think you know what deserves means? You don't understand anything." And then the sound. That froze Emma's soul. Another voice, a woman's voice, weak, whispering from outside. "Help me." Emma's knees buckled. She stumbled back, nearly dropping the baby. Her eyes darted to the photo on the table. The mother. It couldn't be. If the mother is alive, then everything Emma believes is about to collapse. But if it's a trick, she could lose everything. Emma pressed the baby tighter to her chest. The rifle shook in her hands. Outside, the wolf howled, long, low, urgent, as if warning her one last time. Emma's hands were shaking so hard the rifle nearly slipped. The baby whimpered, sensing her fear. That voice, that impossible voice. "Help." Femparbisis. It was faint, like it was floating on the wind, but it sounded human. It sounded female. Emma's throat tightened. She looked at the photograph on the table, the smiling mother holding her baby, the same baby now pressed to Emma's chest. It couldn't be her, it wasn't possible. She was gone. The campsite was destroyed. There was blood, and yet the voice came again. "Please, help me." Emma backed away from the door, her knees trembling. "Who's out there?" she called, her voice breaking. Silence. Then Caleb's voice rose, calm and chilling. "She's alive, Emma, I told you. She's mine. They're both mine." Emma's chest heaved. "No, you're lying. You left her to die." His laugh was soft, but it scraped at her soul. "You don't understand survival. You don't know what it takes out here. Sometimes you have to sacrifice one to save the other. But I came back. I always come back." Emma hugged the baby tighter. Sacrifice. The word cut her like ice. Would you trust a man who admits he abandoned his child, but now claims he was only trying to save her? The baby stirred, letting out a weak cry. The sound seemed to enrage Caleb. He slammed his fist against the door. "Open up, Emma! You can't keep what's mine!" Emma snapped, voice shaking but fierce. "She's not a thing. She's a child, and she's safe here." Silence. For a moment she thought he had gone, but then footsteps. Slow, circling the cabin. Emma's skin crawled. He was walking around her home, hunting for a way in. And then the sound of claws. Her heart leapt. Outside, the wolf snarled, low and deadly. Snow crunched. A growl thundered through the trees. Caleb cursed loudly. His steps retreated. Emma staggered back, collapsing by the fire with the baby. Tears poured down her cheeks. She pressed her lips to the child's forehead, whispering through sobs. "You're safe. You're safe. I won't let him take you." But deep down, she knew safety was hanging by a thread. Morning bled slowly into the cabin. Pale light spilled through the frosted windows. Emma hadn't slept. Her rifle sat across her lap, her eyes red from tears and fear. The baby finally rested in a basket beside her, cheeks flushed with warmth, from the fire. But Emma's mind spun like a storm. Caleb knew her name. He had been watching. That meant he knew her cabin, her trails, her life. He wasn't going to stop. Her gaze drifted to the photograph again. The mother's smile, the baby in her arms. Alive or dead? Real or a trick? Emma rubbed her temples, whispering to herself. You have to think, Emma. You have to protect her. A sudden thump at the window snapped her head around, rifle up, heart pounding. But it wasn't Caleb. The wolf stood there, its fur glistening with frost, breath clouding. In the icy air, its golden eyes locked on hers. Emma lowered the gun, chest heaving. Slowly she opened the door. The wolf didn't move. It stood tall, powerful, yet calm. Then it stepped aside, revealing something in the snow. Emma's stomach clenched. It was a boot, torn, blood-stained. She bent carefully, lifting it with shaking hands. Too big for a child, too small for Caleb. Her heart froze. A woman's boot. Emma's breath came ragged. The voice last night. The photograph. Could it be true? Could the mother still be alive, injured, trapped somewhere in the wilderness? If the mother is alive, everything changes. But if it's a trap, following the voice could destroy them all. Emma looked at the wolf. Show me, she whispered. The animal turned, padding toward the forest, pausing to glance back at her. Emma's chest ached. She looked at the baby, sleeping peacefully, unaware of the storm outside. Could she leave her, even for a moment? Her mind screamed no, but her heart whispered yes. Emma carried the basket closer to the fire, tucking blankets tight around the child. She touched her cheek softly. I'll be back, little one. I promise. She grabbed the rifle, pulled her coat tighter and followed the wolf into the trees. The air was sharp, every step crunching through the heavy snow. Branches snapped above, frost falling like ash. The wolf moved fast but silent, leading her deeper, into the woods. After an hour, the forest opened into a ravine. Emma gasped. There, half buried beneath snow and branches, was a figure. A woman. Her body was pale, her hair tangled with ice. She lay still, almost lifeless. But when Emma dropped to her knees and brushed the snow from her face, her lips moved faintly. Help me? Emma's world spun. It was her, the mother, alive. Tears streamed down her face. She shook her head in disbelief. You're alive. Oh my God, you're alive. The woman's eyes fluttered, weak but real. My baby. Emma clutched her hand. She's safe. She's with me. You're going to see her again. But even as she said it, doubt clawed at her. How had she survived this long? Why hadn't Caleb saved her? If the mother lives, then who is Caleb really? Protector or monster? The wolf growled low, ears flicking toward the trees. Emma froze, following its gaze. Footsteps. Caleb's voice rang through the ravine. Emma, I told you, she's mine. Emma's heart raced as Caleb's figure emerged through the trees. His beard was heavy with frost, his eyes burning like coals. He stopped at the edge of the ravine, staring down at Emma and the woman. His lips curled into a twisted smile. You found her. Emma aimed the rifle, her hands shaking but firm. Stay back. Caleb raised his hands slowly, mockingly. I'm not here to hurt you. Not you, Emma. I just want what's mine. My family. Emma's blood boiled. Family. You left them to die. His smile faded. You don't understand. You couldn't. She was weak. She slowed us down. We never would have made it if I carried them both. I did what I had to do. Emma's stomach turned. The woman at her side let out a weak sob. Her lips formed words, broken and soft. Monster. Caleb's face hardened. Don't listen to her. She doesn't know what it takes to survive out here. Emma's voice cracked, but her aim never wavered. No, you don't know what it takes to be human. The wolf growled from the ridge, its body tense, ready. Caleb's eyes flicked to it, rage twisting his face. That beast has been haunting me for days, following me, keeping me from what's mine. Emma's chest heaved. The pieces slammed together in her mind. The wolf hadn't just found the baby. It had been guarding her, protecting her from him. What if the wolf was never the threat, but the savior all along? Caleb took a step closer. Emma's finger tightened on the trigger. "Don't," she warned. But Caleb sneered. "You won't shoot. You're too soft. That's why you lost your own child, isn't it?" The words stabbed through her like knives. Her arms trembled. Her eyes burned. But her aim didn't drop. Tears streamed down her cheeks. "Not again," she whispered. "I won't lose another." The mother's hand clutched Emma's sleeve weakly. Her lips moved, barely audible. "Protect her, please." Emma's chest swelled with fire. She steadied the rifle, breath shaking, heart screaming. Caleb's grin widened. He stepped forward, and the wolf leapt. It launched from the ridge, a blur of silver and fury. Caleb's scream split the forest as the beast collided with him, knocking him into the snow. Emma held the rifle, frozen in shock. As snow and blood churned in the struggle, the wolf's growls thundered. Caleb's cries turned into silence, and then stillness. The wolf stood, chest heaving, its fur streaked with crimson. It turned its golden eyes to Emma. Not wild, not feral, but calm. Emma's breath caught. Tears blurred her vision. You saved us." The mother beside her wept softly. "My baby. Bring me my baby." Emma's heart broke open. She nodded fiercely, gripping the woman's hand. "You will see her. I promise." But deep down, she knew the fight wasn't over. Not yet. Caleb was gone, but secrets were still buried in the snow. And the truth about the baby, the wolf, and the woman's past was about to change everything. Snow drifted silently over the ravine, covering Caleb's still body. The wolf paced near the edge, breath fogging, its fur streaked with red. Emma's arms trembled as she lowered the rifle. Her pulse still thundered in her ears. She couldn't believe what she had just witnessed. The man was gone. The threat was over. Or was it? Her gaze shifted to the woman lying in the snow, the mother. Her eyes flickered open, weak but alive, staring at Emma with a mixture of fear and hope. "My baby." Her voice cracked, barely a whisper. Emma's chest tightened. She touched the woman's frozen hand gently. "She's safe. She's at my cabin. Warm. Alive." Tears streaked down the woman's pale cheeks. Her lips trembled. "Take me to her." Emma hesitated. The woman's eyes were glassy, her body frail. Moving her through the storm could kill her. But leaving her here was not an option. She looked at the wolf. It stood still, watching, almost as if waiting for her decision. Would you risk carrying a half-dead stranger through the snow, knowing danger could still be watching, or would you protect the baby and leave the truth buried? Emma shook her head fiercely. She wouldn't abandon anyone, not again. She slung the rifle across her back, wrapped her arms under the woman's fragile body, and heaved her up. Every muscle screamed from the weight and the cold. But Emma pressed forward, step after brutal step. The wolf trotted beside her silently, a silver shadow against the storm. Hours passed before the cabin appeared through the snow, glowing faintly with firelight. Emma nearly collapsed at the sight. She shoved the door open with her shoulder, staggering inside. The baby cried out, sensing the chaos. Emma rushed to her, laying the mother gently on the bed. The woman's eyes lit up weakly at the sound. "My baby." Emma lifted the child carefully, carrying her to the bed. She placed the baby in the woman's arms. The moment they touched, the child went quiet, staring up with wide, innocent eyes. Tears streamed down the woman's face. She whispered, hoarsely, "Anna, my Anna." Emma's throat burned. The sight tore at her heart, so beautiful, so fragile. A mother and child reunited. If the mother lives, where does that leave Emma? Was she meant to find the child, or was she only a bridge between them? Emma turned away, hiding her tears in the firelight. But the wolf, still outside the window, stood, watch, unmoving, unblinking, as though it knew something more was coming. The cabin glowed warm, but Emma's chest felt colder than the storm outside. The mother, whose name she learned was Lily, clutched the baby close, humming softly through cracked lips. Her eyes never left the child, as if afraid she would vanish if she blinked. Emma sat across the fire, staring at them. The flames hissed, but inside her, a storm raged. Memories crashed over her, her own daughter, the fever that stole her, the tiny grave in the frozen earth. The way Emma's arms had ached for years with emptiness, and now this baby, a miracle, but not hers. She blinked back tears. "She's beautiful," she whispered. Lily smiled faintly, her lips trembling. "She is my everything. I thought I'd lost her forever." Emma nodded, her throat burning. She wanted to be happy for Lily, but pain twisted inside her. That baby had filled a hole in her soul. Now that hole gaped open again. When you save a life, do you let it go when the rightful owner appears? Or do you hold on to the piece of yourself it healed? Lily's voice broke the silence. "You saved her, didn't you?" Emma's lips parted, but no words came. Tears welled in her eyes as she finally whispered, "It was the wolf. He dragged the bag to me. He led me to her." Lily's eyes widened. "The wolf?" Emma nodded. "He's been watching, protecting, even tonight when Caleb—" Her voice cracked on the name. Lily's face darkened with grief. "He wasn't always like this. He was kind once, gentle, but after the storms, after the hunger, something in him broke. He thought survival meant sacrifice." Her voice wavered. "He was willing to give up Anna, to save himself. I couldn't stop him." Emma's chest tightened. She looked toward the window. The wolf still stood there, glowing against the snow. Silent, waiting. She whispered, "He saved her when no one else would." Lily nodded weakly, tears streaming. "Maybe he saved us all." But Emma's thoughts spiraled. Caleb was gone, buried in the snow, but his shadow lingered in her cabin, in Lily's broken body, in Anna's wide eyes. What if monsters aren't just men like Caleb? What if grief, loss, and hunger turn any of us into something unrecognizable? Emma closed her eyes, clutching her knees to her chest as the fire hissed. She felt both blessed and cursed. Blessed to see a mother hold her child again, cursed to remember she no longer could. Morning came heavy and grey. Snow had eased, but the silence outside was haunting. Emma stirred the fire, exhaustion etched into every line of her face. Lily slept on the bed, the baby curled in her arms. The sight was beautiful, but it tore at Emma's heart. She stood slowly, pulling her coat on. The wolf was still outside, waiting, guarding. She stepped out quietly, boots crunching in the snow. The animal's eyes met hers. She whispered into the icy air, "Why me? Why bring her to me?" The wolf tilted its head, silent. Emma's throat ached. "She's hers, I know that, but..." She stopped, tears spilling. "I can't lose her too." Her sobs echoed in the snow. The wolf moved closer, its gaze piercing but gentle. It lowered its head, brushing against her hand. Emma froze, then slowly touched its fur. It was warm, real, alive. And in that moment she understood. The wolf wasn't asking her to keep Anna. It was asking her to choose, to protect both mother and child, no matter how much it hurt her. Could you love and protect something with your whole heart, knowing it would never truly be yours? Emma wiped her tears, her voice steady now. "I'll protect them, as long as I breathe. I swear it." The wolf gave a low rumble, almost approval, then turned toward the woods. It vanished into the trees, leaving Emma in the cold silence. She returned to the cabin, heart heavy but resolved. Lily stirred, whispering softly, "Emma?" Emma knelt beside her. "You and Anna need rest, food, warmth. I'll take care of everything." Lily smiled weakly, clutching Emma's hand. You already have. You gave us life again." Emma's throat tightened. She nodded, brushing Anna's soft cheek. "She's special. She's stronger than both of us." The firelight flickered, casting shadows on the walls. Emma felt the weight of her vow press into her bones. Peace never lasts long in the wilderness. If the wolf had taught her anything, it was this: danger always returns. And in the distance, faint but certain, another howl rose. Not the wolf she knew. Another. The forest wasn't done with them. The wind howled across the snowy ridge, carrying a sharp bite that cut straight through Emma's coat. Her breath came in ragged clouds as she trudged behind the wolf, her boots crunching through the fresh layer of snow. Every part of her screamed to turn back, but her heart whispered something else. The wolf wasn't dragging the bag anymore. Instead, he carried it carefully in his mouth, as if protecting something fragile, something sacred. Emma's chest tightened with each step, her mind racing with questions she couldn't shake. Why would a wild wolf do this? What's in that bag? Why leave me here? The wolf stopped suddenly at the crest of the hill. He turned his head and met her eyes. For the first time, Emma saw something in those golden irises that made her heart nearly stop. Pain, but also trust. The animal limped forward, weakened, and placed the bag at the base of a fallen pine. His chest rose and fell heavily. Emma's breath caught in her throat. She realized this wolf had given everything, its strength, its last ounce of energy, to bring this bag here. Her shaking hands reached down, brushing the snow from the fabric. She untied the strap slowly, afraid of what she might see. Inside, wrapped in a thick, worn blanket, was a stack of letters tied with string, and on top of them, a photograph. Emma froze. It was a picture of her father, her vision blurred as tears welled up. The man who had disappeared 20 years ago in these very mountains, the man she thought had abandoned her, was staring back at her from the photo. Her knees buckled. The letters shook in her trembling hands as she pulled one free and opened it. "Dear Emma." The handwriting was unmistakable. Her father's voice seemed to speak through the words. He hadn't left her. He hadn't run away. He had been lost, stranded, fighting to survive. And in his loneliness, he had written to her every day, the Ma. Wolf, as if sensing her grief, lay down beside the bag, its breath shallow. Emma dropped the letter and pressed her hand against its fur. "You brought this to me. You carried his words to me," she whispered, tears dripping onto the snow. But the wolf's eyes were closing. Emma's heart cracked open. What was the connection between this wolf and her father? And why now, after all these years, was the truth being delivered to her in this way? Emma didn't move for what felt like hours. The world around her blurred. The wind, the snow, the endless silence of the mountains. All she could hear was the faint, labored breathing of the wolf. "Stay with me," she begged softly. "You're not just an animal. You're more." Her words were desperate, but in her heart she felt something deeper. This wolf wasn't just carrying a bag, he was carrying a message, a bridge between her father's world and hers. She opened another letter, her tears staining the paper. "If one day you find these, know that I never stopped loving you. I was saved once by a creature I never thought would be my friend. A wolf. He stayed with me, led me, kept me alive when I should have been gone. Maybe one day, his kin will bring you back to me." Emma's chest tightened. Could it be her father had been saved by a wolf, and now years later a wolf, perhaps even a descendant of that same one, had carried his words back to her? Her fingers clutched the thick fur of the dying animal. "You were his guardian, and now you're mine." The wolf's eyes fluttered. Open one last time. He looked at her, no fear, no wildness, only peace. Then, with a final exhale, the wolf stilled. Emma let out a cry that echoed across the mountain. She pressed her forehead against his fur, sobbing, her body shaking with the weight of loss and gratitude. The bag was more than just letters. It was her father's life. His journals, drawings, even a carved wooden charm with her name on it. Every piece told the story of his fight to stay alive, of his longing for her, of the love that had never died. And somehow, the wolf had known she needed to see it. But if the wolf was gone, how would Emma honor both him and her father? What would she do with the truth she now carried? The sun began to rise, casting gold across the frozen horizon. Emma sat by the wolf's body, the bag of her father's words clutched to her chest. For the first time in decades, she didn't feel abandoned. She felt connected. Her father's spirit lived in these mountains. His words had survived, carried by the loyalty of a creature no one would have believed. And now, Emma had a choice. Leave this place with only memories, or build something that would make sure neither her father nor the wolf were forgotten. She dug a grave in the frozen ground with trembling hands, burying the wolf under the pine tree where he had laid down. The bag. With each scoop of snow and dirt, she whispered a promise. You won't be forgotten. Not you, see, not him. This story will live on. When she placed the final stone, she tied the carved wooden charm, her name carved by her father, around it. Then, she stood, holding the bag of letters to her chest and looked out over the white horizon. For the first time, she didn't see emptiness. She saw love, sacrifice, and a bond that stretched beyond life itself. Emma walked back down the mountain, her steps lighter despite the weight of her grief. She knew what she had to do. She would share this story. She would tell the world about the father who never stopped loving her, and the wolf who carried that love across years of silence. And maybe, just maybe, others would see wolves not as monsters, but as messengers, guardians, bridges between two worlds. And so Emma's journey ended not with despair, but with a truth that would echo forever. Sometimes love finds its way back to us in the most impossible forms. If this story touched your heart, make sure to like this video, subscribe, and share it with someone who needs hope today. And here's my question for you. If you were in Emma's place and a wolf brought you a bag from someone you loved, what would you hope to find inside? Drop your answers in the comments. I'll be reading everyone.